what's up, guys? Today we've got another podcast for you. This one's called The Weekly Dark. This one's going to be about serial killers, their motives, basically the psychology behind it. Um, the first topic at hand for today was actually put on Mr. Bogdan over here. He decided who we're going to talk about. So we'll let him intro him and give some information about him real quick so we can get this conversation started.
All right, let's get this bad boy on the road. On the road again.
Yes, sir.
All right, so the topic is Jeffrey Dahmer. One of the most, I don't know, most loving serial killer, most passionate serial killer, out of killer's history of all time. I mean, there's some here and there, but nobody hits it home like Jeffrey. Not that what he did was good. He was an absolutely disgusting animal. But you get the gist. Anyways, so let's start from the beginning. Old Dahmer was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. When he was 8, his family moved to Bath, Ohio. And that's when it all began. Dun dun dun. Sorry, it was too perfect not to. Okay, but anyways, his parents was Jace. His mom, his dad was Leano. It's
horrible name.
Super whack name. Whatever.
It's not worse than Bogdan.
But mine's foreign.
Okay. Well.
So, anyways, his parents they treated him alright. Kind of very controlling. That's what Dahmer liked to describe them as. Extremely controlling. His mom was on a lot of medication, so old Padre said we can't be having that. Marriage started to fall apart. But at the age of 4, I apologize. Dahmer saw his dad was sweeping up remains of a dead animal that was killed by some birds. Dahmer was very intrigued. The dad noticed. So, just normal kid things. My kid's weird. You could have stopped it. We're not blaming any fingers. But anyways, and then at the age of 6, Dahmer had a hemorrhoid infection in his head. And then he had surgery, and after that, he just was not the same. He started becoming very to himself. Yes, very introverted. But also he was starting to get more intrigued by dead animals and just bones. Kid loved bones.
He really liked the sound of the bones made when they came across a metal pail. I remember his dad remembering that, and his dad was scooping up the remains of the dead bunny or dead squirrel, I think, and as soon as it hit the metal pail that he was scooping them up with, Jeffrey started picking up the bones themselves and throwing them against the pail to see what they sounded like. Specifically, just picking them up and throwing them at the pail. And his dad started to notice something.
Normal kid stuff.
I mean, as normal kid stuff. As a dad, I don't know. I'm not a father by any means, but if I see my kid throwing bones at something and just it's a bone. That's pretty dope.
You didn't do that as a kid?
I mean, not just bones here and there, but not excessive bones.
No, that's what
Yeah,
you're
kids' brains are a little scrambled, obviously.
And I mean, did you go to the extent of when you hit the age of 10, you were riding around in a car, picking up roadkill on the side of the road, cutting it open to see what the insides of an animal was like?
I mean, the kid...
There's some weird 10-year-olds. Well, maybe not that weird, but...
That's pushing it. That's
definitely pushing it.
It's not pushing P. It's definitely not pushing P. That's what I was about to say. But yeah, around that between 4 and 10 age, he even found a dead dog. Got his head, put it on a stake. That's some African tribe stuff right there.
What was the tree trunk you were talking about with the dog? Yeah, he stapled a dog's body to a tree trunk, and another kid found it. Pretty insane.
And to think, when they moved to Ohio, he got really, really shy, and his parents bought him a dog specifically to keep him company.
Yikes.
And it was remembered as his staple when he moved as like that was the only thing he enjoyed. Like he didn't like enjoy the kids around town. There was only a few neighborhood kids that he hung out with, but his parents had to basically like force him to go out to like public events, to go out to the amusement park and get on the rides and like with just random kids. Like he hated just randomness. He loved monotony and he loved doing the stuff with the dead animals specifically. I mean, like he just absolutely loved dead animals.
And then that leads us into when he was getting into school. Dahmer, old D Dog, was
JD.
old JD. He was like a weird outcast kid that everybody liked. I don't know. In that I can relate to
kind of
Dahmer.
like you, the class clown that just didn't really like people, but yet everybody liked him.
Have y'all seen the Jeffrey Dahmer movie with
the new one,
my best friend Dahmer, or my friend Dahmer?
Yeah. In that movie, he was like weird, but his friends would get him to act like a special ed kid, where he would just start like moaning and groaning and shouting in classes and stuff, and that made him popular around his friends.
Yeah. That's a little bit later on when they get to high school. They started doing some stuff to make him just be.
He just wanted to
really.
fit in.
He was known as like the outcast, but yet everybody still liked him because like he was funny. He was the class clown when he was younger, but then it started branching in to a little bit worse when he gets into his high school years.
So at the age of 14, Dahmer was a heavy drinker. Kid's liver was on life support. No doubt about it.
He didn't even have a liver. He was pumping insulin on the daily.
A kid would have a camo jacket and who have a flask in there. Like
some good Scotch whiskey.
Oh yeah, some good old Scotch. And before all this, Greg was mentioning that Dahmer, there was a girl in Dahmer's class, and she even brought up like to Dahmer, like, "Yo, what's that? What's in your cup?"
He said, "It's my medicine."
Homie had a double cup full of medicine.
Yeah, some lean.
Oh, it wasn't lean. He needed the last thing he needed.
Oh man, but yeah. So obviously you can already tell that Dahmer is extremely unstable. Like, dude's playing with bones, putting hog heads on steaks, drinking at the age of 14. Like, kid's losing it. Kid's 50 years old in a 14-year-old body. That's getting
besides the dog head.
Yeah, I don't know. It's some midlife crisis. It might take you some dark roads.
Yeah, he did start working out a lot, right?
It's weird. Yeah, I was just about to say, it's weird that he just didn't have any care for his body, but at the same time, well, the alcohol route, he didn't have any care for his body because he didn't care for his liver. He didn't care for, what it was doing to him. But at the same time, that's when he really started working out. He wanted to be physically appealing because he knew that his weirdness, that's what every kid goes through. If you're in middle school, high school, you're coming up, you're like, oh, I'm weird. The girls aren't going to like me, whatever. The next thing that you're going to do is, you're going to get jacked. You're going to get swole. So he started working out.
But he was doing this for the appeal of other guys.
Not at
the beginning. At the beginning, it was just for the appeal of whoever found it. Because he hadn't found his sexuality until he started breaching over to about 13, 14. And he remembers vividly, that's when he kissed a guy for the first time in his neighborhood, and he found it. He found it like.
Was the other guy homosexual, or did he just?
I would assume so.
I don't know.
Yeah, but it may have been like kissed him, and then the other guy was like, "Oh, what are you doing?"
I think somebody specifically said that they were jokingly doing it. At the time, which I don't know how you just jokingly.
Good joke, guys.
Hey, let's kiss. Yeah, as a joke.
Yeah, just I mean,
we joke.
In which there's stuff like that, and I don't know the extent of the friend group. I don't know what all they were into. But I know specifically for that kid in his neighborhood, somebody said that it was a joke, but he took it literal, and that's when he started finding his sexuality. Was about the age of 13, 14, and he was afraid of it. He was really afraid of it because he didn't think that could happen. He didn't think that he could necessarily be homosexual and go through with it. He personally hated it that he was homosexual.
But a little before that, you got something to say?
No, I was just saying, like, mainly because, like, he didn't want to be, like, homosexual, mainly for the reason because society back then was way less accepting of it. And it was way less, like, common.
Man, dude, if Dahmer was in 2022, bro.
He'd be thriving.
Oh,
so he was, like, homophobic and homosexual at the same time.
I wouldn't say homophobic, more like he just didn't like the fact that he was a homosexual because it was almost frowned upon at that time.
Yeah, it was sort of like, it wasn't necessarily homophobic because taken as a whole, that means that you're homophobic towards, like,
others,
everybody else. It was just that he hated his own homosexuality, and that it was driving something in him, that his sexuality wasn't going the way that it was naturally supposed to.
And also another thing is, if he would have given in on that homosexual drive, dude, Dahmer would probably not have gone the route he did. Like, there were so many different routes that Dahmer could have taken, but every single step he made a wrong choice. But
always a wrong path,
thinking that it was gonna treat him right at the end of the road, but as we could tell, it did not treat him right, or the victims. But yeah, Dahmer was a class clown. It wasn't like a popular kid kind of thing that people liked him. They just liked him because he would do stupid stuff.
Yeah,
like
you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm basically Dahmer, just without.
Yeah, we should be doing this podcast on you.
Just without the whole killing
people
part and sacrificing animals.
Yeah.
But
know of.
He was the double dare kid. He was that kid that you could just walk around the halls and be like, "Hey, go do this. I dare you to do this."
He eat the dog shit outside.
Well, it wasn't even like stuff like that. It was more like it was more verbal acts that he would do. There was this thing called doing the Dahmer, and he would mock his mom's like furniture decorator or inside decorator or whatever it's called, and she has cerebral palsy, so yeah. So he would just just pretend like he's her and just go out in public, ooh, ooh, stuff like that. I mean, it's legit. Like, that's what he did.
There was another one.
It's in the movie.
When he was in school, one of his classmates remember him vividly running down the halls, like flapping his hands and like screaming and just blaring, "Hurricane drill, get down, get down, get down," and like he's just like running through the halls doing this. And I don't think at that time, it wasn't released. The specific classmate doesn't know if anybody told him to do that or not. They think it's honestly was just like a sporadic thing that he just thought it was funny. And I mean, that's kind of interesting because it almost seems as if he was like getting to a schizophrenic mindset at that point, because he just had these tendencies that just flew. And I mean, like, obviously, if you're trying to be funny, you're just going to do something wild. But I mean, like, for these things to where at the beginning he had the bones that he threw on the pail and he had that noise, he had that, click with him. And then he's like trying to be funny and he noticed that the funny was working. And so from then on, it was just like stuff that was just driving him to do something else. It was like nobody else had to do that for him. He was just doing it for himself.
The two most biggest diagnoses that everybody was giving Dahmer, all the psychiatrists and stuff like that, or the people that like would study his case, would be social, whatever, basically
anxiety disorder or social awkwardness.
So basically a sociopath. It's another word for sociopath, more scientific word. But and also autism. And that dude, that clicks. Like he might have actually like been like
slightly on the spectrum.
Yeah, a little bit. Like throwing bones, like just that like addictiveness.
Like Asperger's or a different.
Well, actually now they put Asperger's with autism as one.
It's part of it.
Yeah, so now it's like part of its own, like it's all one thing now. But obviously he had to be a little bit on the spectrum with like that whole addictiveness of just like doing certain things and just stuff like that. So I don't know. He had those things, but again, he could have, if he would have just taken other roads,
Well, back to the whole like killing animal stuff. I think a lot of that played in with his dad giving him information on how to kill them. And one time I remember he poured like motor oil in an aquarium or something like that at age 7. At age 7 to be able to know to do that. I mean, that's obviously somebody told him. So
yeah, like my mom, she taught me how to throw knives at the age of 7. You know? I was age 7, sitting at the closet door, man, throwing kitchen knives. I was good at it.
That's a good mom right there.
And that's where my addiction at a young age grew to enjoying knives, and now I
He is
sharpen
not a
knives.
serial killer for anyone wondering. At least we
He's
don't
just an
know
idiot. He
of
might
right
be,
now.
I took the other path of Dahmer.
As far as we know right now, if one of us go missing and there's no information on us
Blame him.
whatsoever,
Blame
you
him.
know where to start. All right.
But I don't know. I could see where I relate with Dahmer again, just without the whole killing aspect.
Can you?
Right.
Can you?
All right.
He's just
Misunderstood.
Are you homosexual, Bogdan?
I am not. I like females. I like females, so y'all hit my line.
After everything you've just said, no one's hitting your line.
Yeah. Now we're starting to get a few years later, or around the same time, just him growing up just a little bit more, still in his teens. But then, this is when he started realizing that he's homosexual. He likes boys. So him just still kind of growing up and just figuring old J-Dog out for himself, he started to realize that, like you said, he was homosexual. But like you said, he didn't want to look at himself as a homosexual because at the time it wasn't accepted and it was just looked down upon by today. So this is where it all turned to absolute nightmare. So when he would pluck his chicken, he would think about the pigs that they would cut up in science class, in his class. And at that age, when you link something as you're growing up in your sexuality, it sticks with you forever. Like, I've noticed some stuff, like, I like specific things, and I look back, I was like, that's exactly where I got it from. And other stuff just doesn't hit. And for Dahmer, it didn't hit. So,
by the way, when he says pluck his chicken, he means masturbate. That's what he means.
No, I don't. Don't listen to him. No, definitely not.
Well, I hope that's what you're meaning.
No, he actually had a chicken, and he would pluck it.
Well, it is Dahmer, so that would make sense.
That would actually make a lot of sense.
But there was this runner that would cross by his house a lot, or on the road by his house, and Dahmer thought he was very attractive, and then he started to think about the guy. Fantasize about the guy, just unconscious or just not moving in some form of way.
Completely submissive.
Yeah. Because he's dominant. At the age of 14, my boy's already an alpha. But
the dominant Dahmer.
Double D.
The double D, he just wanted him to lay there while he would just put his head on his chest, listen to his heartbeat, caress him, and just do whatever. And I guess that's where he got the whole thing from the pig, was because the pig's dead. Like, it's not moving. So as it's growing into like this weird like thing, it's like, yeah, dude, I'm gay. Let me think about dead pigs. Now I'm thinking gay with dead things. So, so it just keeps unspiraling, and that's where I said, like, if he would have just went homophobic,
if he would have just accepted it, it would have been a lot better path.
If he would just went with his homosexuality, then it would have been fine. But he didn't.
But nah, my boy had to get necrophilic.
On top of homosexual.
That's not funny. If you laughed, you're disgusting.
You're the only one that laughed.
I'm talking to the viewers and the listeners. But yeah. So this is where it all just started turning downhill. Dahmer could not control the urges. He kept thinking and fantasizing about the jogger even more and more. So then he started thinking of a plan. He watched this jogger run multiple days. He would just sit there and watch him. So he knew the routine that the guy always took and what time he had it. Dude had it down to a T. every single time the jogger was there. Old Double D was there. And so he got a bat and he was gonna knock him out and just have his way with him. Old dominant Dahmer. Um, but luckily the jogger just did not run for some ungodly reason, and he better be glad he didn't because
Would have been a bad day.
I mean, yes, like
There's no telling what it could have turned into.
the kid was 14 or like he was in his teens, but still, like he was jacked because his high school kids were talking about like, dude, I don't want to I don't want to push Dahmer to the point until he snaps because he's either going to kill somebody or he's going to kill himself.
Yeah.
Like they recognized that dude was an absolute gym rat. There's no telling what Dahmer could have like possibly have done, especially at that age. And like, yes, it got to a certain point where it was bad because he had 17 kills. But if he would have started at the age of 14 with the jogger, then it would have been.
Yeah, I mean he was 14 then. Like that's the thing. Like he was already thinking about just unconsciousness, not even death at that point. He was just thinking about somebody being unconscious. I mean, think about the first time if he would have just knocked that dude unconscious at 14. There's no telling what he would have done at 15, 16, 17. I mean, it took up until 18 years old before it was his first kill. Even I mean, like before he even killed someone. Throughout that time, he showed up to high school. I mean, 8 o'clock in the morning, dude was drunk. He had it was public at this point. He had a solo cup, like a styrofoam cup full of scotch when he was in senior year. I mean, he just showed up to class drunk. Um, and I remember one of his classmates recollecting the memory of them being in a mall and this lady having samples of sunflower seeds. She was handing them out, and he was just taking them, being polite, whatever. Wasn't trying to be like rude or anything, but he was just taking sunflower seeds. They all pitched in $35 a piece for him to just make a scene in the mall. And so what he did is he got these sunflower seeds, threw them all in his mouth, and then just spit them out everywhere and just started screaming, "I'm allergic." And then he just started acting just stupid. I mean, really, like Dahmer. He was just like Dahmer, yeah. But he was just making it so over the top and so wild. And then that's when his friends were like starting to get worried. They were like, "This was wild. This was a little over the top." Then they went on a fishing trip. What happened on this fishing trip was actually crazy because they go from the chill Dahmer, quote unquote chill Dahmer throughout high school. Yes, he's showing up. He's showing up drunk every day. That's kind of iffy. You're like, why is this kid drunk every day?
That's a cool kid, though.
Well, I mean, he had full range to do it. His parents weren't in a good relationship. His parents didn't. I mean, he had no home life. His parents were always fighting. He'd go in the backyard and just beat trees with sticks when his parents started fighting. I mean, he even said that he was trying to figure out why it was happening to him, out of all people. Like, why it had to happen to him, that his parents weren't in the best mindset. They didn't have the best relationship. So he'd just go out in the backyard and just beat trees with sticks or go on car rides or whatever. Just clear his mind. And then they went on this fishing trip. He catches a little sunfish, right? Pulls a little sunfish up to the bank, and he brings out a knife and just starts stabbing it. Stabs it multiple times, cuts it up, and like the two guys that were with him just look over at him with this just like shocked face, like, "What the hell did you just do?" And he's like, "I just wanted to see what it looked like."
I mean, I don't see any problem with that, honestly. I mean, that just sounds like an old Southern boy, dude. I mean, me and some buddies, we'd throw knives around fish, but
I think it's more of like the whole.
Yeah, I mean, like he was like
beating it to death and wanting to see its inside,
just stabbing it, cutting it up. It just was mutilated. It was a mutilated body, and I mean, it brought him back to his younger days where he found roadkill and they were completely mutilated, and he wanted to see what was on the inside, and that sparked it. As soon as he graduated, his parents split up. His mom and his little brother, they were at the house. He actually named his little brother. That's what his parents were trying to show him when he was younger, is that you still have control, you still have options. So they gave him the ability, they gave him the option to name his little brother. He named his little brother David. And so David and his mom, they ended up moving out. His dad left the house. And so at 18, he was home alone. So this is when all the thoughts started, flooding in. He's home alone. He's drinking all day. So he started fantasizing about having this hitchhiker. He was tall, slender, hairless body. He was just, he was literally just thinking about it. And as soon as he's driving around one day, he finds the perfect hitchhiker. I mean, lo and behold, this dude's just on the side of the road, the perfect one. He even said that he drove past him, and he was thinking about it. It just ate him up, and he decided to turn around and go pick him up. This kid was Stephen Hicks, 18 years old. Kind of like a hippie, one of those like Coachella kind of guys that want to go to the music festivals. He was trying to hitchhike to a music festival, but he decides to lead him back to his house. They had a few drinks, and the kid decides that he wants to leave. It's time for him to go.
But they also did have sex.
They did have sex, yes. They did,
Yeah,
which was interesting. I don't know how all the details went down. I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer really got lucky. I mean, honestly, with that first guy, he got so lucky because what are the chances that the guy that you're fantasizing about is going to be not only the perfect body type, the perfect whatever you're like, trying to get at.
Yeah, also homosexual.
He's also homosexual.
Well, I see. I was looking into that, and I don't believe that he was a homosexual. He's going to a rock concert, right? Nobody knows what concert because we're obviously not going to find out. But, it's not that funny.
Yeah,
it's a victim.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop laughing. Okay, but like if you're going to a rock concert, I don't know, like majority of people that go to rock concerts, especially around that time when rock was like still kind of like that weird like devil's music almost.
Yeah.
Like those people would do a lot of things.
Yeah, they had some iffy
Yeah, they would be doing
their lifestyles.
Well, they were doing a lot of experimental things back then. Like those are people that were like constantly doing like drugs and stuff and all that, like experiment. I'm not saying like all like people that go to like.
I mean, heck, it was a music festival at that. I mean, like
people are usually on something.
Back then, they were. I mean, still nowadays, but back then they were popping tabs like it was nothing. I mean,
So you think he was bisexual maybe and got drunk with
I
Dahmer?
think he was just like. I think he was just
down to do
anything.
whatever. Like, dude, like if you were talking about Manson was kind of like around the same era. So a lot of people like, to create society, there were like your brains have to be the same in a certain year, and like around Manson, dude, people were just down to do whatever. Like they would just have orgies and stuff like that. So I believe that he wasn't homosexual, but he just like. This is the lifestyle. I want the careless lifestyle.
That free bird.
Yeah. So if like I want to have gay sex with some guy that just picked me up 30 minutes ago, why not? Why not? He's gonna stop me. So
I mean, who knows how that conversation went down? I mean, Jeffrey could have enticed him in some kind of way. Hey, I just picked you up off the side of the road. You had nothing to do. We're drunk now. Here's what I want to do.
He was obviously known for being able to manipulate.
Yeah, he was very manipulative. So I mean, who knows how that conversation went down?
No, I know exactly how it went down.
Well, we don't need a recreation.
What's up, baby?
Hey, what up?
Try and come back to my place. That's my impression of Dahmer. That's exactly what he sounds like.
He looks a nerdy kid.
Don't look it up. But
yeah. So this leads into his first killing.
Dun dun dun.
His first killing. What was that like?
Yeah. So pretty much it was pretty brutal. The guy wanted to leave, and I think it was just like for Dahmer, it was more like the companionship. Like he did not want to be alone. I think this is a common reoccurrence within like his history of events. And the guy was trying to leave, and Dahmer was like, no. Takes a barbell he was probably worked out with, just took it to him, beat him, killed him with it, strangled him after that, and ended up after that dismembered his body, crushed up the bones. But I think it was a sledgehammer.
Yep.
Spread him out the back, and then got some acid from I don't know where specifically, but his dad
from the animals.
Yeah. And then dissolved his flesh and the remaining flesh in the acid. Where there's no evidence left.
Now the crazy thing about that is just I don't know if any of y'all have ever worked out or like just seen a barbell. It's the one that you bench or squat with.
It's a big bar.
It's 45 pounds.
Most of them aren't. Now, he could have had an Olympic one. It could have been 50, 60 pounds.
Exactly. I mean, like at the age of around what was it, 16? Like, what was the age around Dahmer did his first killing?
He's 18.
18.
18.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm older than 18, and I can't just swing a barbell like it's nobody's business. To swing a barbell to hit somebody precisely,
Knock him out.
that's
It takes
Dude-
strength and
Well, like there's a whole challenge of like laying a barbell on the ground
Yeah,
and trying to
and then
pick it up
picking
on
it up.
one side.
yeah. I've never been able to do
yeah,
it.
let alone swinging that thing like a baseball bat.
I mean, he may have killed him by
That's-
like holding.
Yeah, he
it.
could have done it like a stab.
or
Yeah, I mean,
like
still,
the
who
head
knows how to
button
do
like
it?
that.
Who knows how he did it? He still
Yeah.
did it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
That's still
Still
that's just shows
insane.
you how strong like that kid was at his young age. That
And he could have also had different things flooding through. I mean, he could have had so much adrenaline and so many
That
endorphins
is
flowing through his body
oh no doubt
that
about
he
it.
had that
was like
crackhead
fight or flight.
energy. Yeah, he
Oh,
had
yeah.
that crackhead energy. I mean, he even said that his first one wasn't planned. He didn't plan to do any of that. So I mean, at that moment, he could have killed this dude unknowingly, and all the stuff that's flowing through your body at that point. I mean, he just probably. I mean, it probably felt like a 15-pound dumbbell at that point, just picking it up and just swinging it. I
Yeah.
mean, and he put enough force into the dude to knock him out, like you said, strangles him, kills him, holds onto his body for about a week, and then it starts smelling. And like think about it. Like he was so lost at that point that he holds onto the body, dismembers it, and then he breaks up the bones, crushes them, and disperses them in the backyard of his own house.
Yeah, it's just he's obviously not thinking straight. The
Yeah.
fact that
Obviously.
he just well, I mean, yes, like it obvious.
Yeah.
The fact that he killed him was him not thinking in the right mind. But if you're gonna plan a killing, like, dude, you're not about to just to throw evidence on your backyard. So like, it was obviously adrenaline running, and he just went. I don't know.
Gotta get rid
Go.
of it. Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Gotta get rid of it
yeah.
somehow. So that was his first killing. His dad moves back in, and then they just go back and forth. You need to get a job. You need to do this. You need to do that. You're just home all day drinking. XYZ, and he tries working a job. Can't remember what it was at the beginning.
I don't either.
He tries working a job that fell through, and his dad's like, "Well, the next thing is you're running out of options. You're going to college." Enrolls him in Ohio State University. Go Buckeyes, right? I don't know. Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, go Buckeyes, y'all. Jeffrey Dahmer.
But so he goes to Ohio State. Same thing again. Just drinking all day. Failing his classes. Kid was literally selling his blood plasma to blood banks to get money
So
to
he could buy more.
straight literally flip it over into alcohol.
And also, when he graduated high school, he was like he had extremely high IQ. So like, it's not the fact that he couldn't pass his classes or anything. He just cared nothing
Didn't
about
go to
it.
class.
He just did not feel in a good like space of mind where he just wanted to do anything. So he was just drinking his sorrows away.
Yeah. So he's sitting there drinking. His dad's like, "All right, that's not working." He comes back home, stays for about I can't remember the timeline on it. But his dad's like, the only other option that you got at this point, armed services. So that was terrible. Wow. But so joins the army. They run him through. Ironically enough, his job, his MOS, was gonna be field medic. Like, I mean, think about all the things that he could have got. Infantry. I mean, he was a smart kid. He could have probably gotten something like aviation tech, something crazy. But yet, out of all things, he got field medic. So this is where that next level comes in. Because before, it was animals. He knew how to dismember animals. He knew how to, look at the insides of an animal. He was so fascinated by it. But now, it's humans. He learns even more and more about humans.
So as he's in the military at this time, again, the medic thing is just so bizarre. But he did not want it to be anything else because he just could not see like the sight of blood. He couldn't draw blood. He hated hurting people. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But his people that he stayed with. I don't know. I'm not a military man like you, but if you're wondering why we're laughing, check out the YouTube. Then you get to see us live or recorded, whatever. But anyways, he was just that again, that outsider, that weird, just weird dude that like just everyone's like Dahmer. All right, cool. Um, they'll like sometimes pick on him, stuff like that, just like high school, just like elementary, whatever. And one time he wore panties, just just trying it out, just seeing what he likes. Again, trying to figure out his sexuality. Somebody saw it. Of course, they bullied him. I would have too.
Yeah, especially in the military, you're gonna get bullied.
Yeah, you're gonna get some flack for that one.
But like you can already see, he's not liked. And then again, he keeps on just pursuing, like, to find his sexuality. And one time, he started getting into filming for the military. I forgot exactly what he was filming for, but he asked this guy, be like, "Yo, can you just pretend like you're just dead, just lay there?" And dude was like confused. So just pretend like you're dead. You recorded him. You go to wherever, and he'll pluck his chicken. So like that's when it just keeps on leveling up and upgrading. Homie just hit a Mario mushroom on that, but
And I mean, he talks about, especially like with his time in the military. Um, he said that he still had those fantasies. He still had the fantasies about dudes. He still had the fantasies about the whole having sex, intercourse, whatever you want to say, with dead bodies. And it was all still there, but he just never had the opportunity to do it, and it drove him crazy. So he went to the points of doing like crazy stunts like that, getting people to play dead. Just wild stuff like that. Starts thinking, does those crazy stunts. And now the drinking never went away. I mean, he's still drinking day to day. I mean, his peers are seeing that he's drunk. He smells like alcohol all the time. Um, and that becomes a problem, right? The military doesn't like drunks. I mean, how good are you if you're drunk? What are you gonna
especially
do?
if you're a medic.
Especially if you're a field medic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you said it. I mean, he used to carry suitcases.
Thing was a whole bar. Like you open it up, he's got mixers, he's got stirs, like homie's got different like kinds of bottles, and just like again, he was not in the right place, right mind to just to exist. I'm not saying he should be dead or anything, but like he was struggling. Like, and also another thing is everyone noticed from like a very young age. This kid was drinking at 14. Dude's been an alcoholic when he got into the military, like nonstop. Like dad saw him play with bones. Like classmates saw what he did with the fish, and not a single person was like, "Yo, Dahmer, you okay? Like, are you good?"
Yeah, that's the scary part.
Yeah.
Like, he was so isolated, whether people accept it or not. I mean, even with his parents. I mean, his parents weren't there, and that's like the first people you're gonna go to. I mean, you're gonna like if you're at home, no friends whatsoever, you're going to your parents. You're like, hey, listen, something's not okay with me. And for the parents, they were so focused on each other and how their relationship was going that it was so messed up that they quit. They gave up on their kids. I mean, the mom even took one of the kids with them and abandoned or with her and abandoned Dahmer by himself. Then his dad left. So I mean, like he's only known abandonment from here on out, and obviously he needs somebody to talk to because this is just going to spiral out of just complete ability to bring it back to something, bring him back to earth.
Well, also, it's not even the fact that he needs somebody to talk to because he already like made such a strong tie to having somebody that can't say no or anything. So that literally cut out the other side of him needing a companion because yes, he could have just dated, but again, like they can say no, they can yeah. So like, not only was he abandoned, but he also screwed himself to the point of being able to be fixed in a relationship like a like a soulmate relationship. But like, yes, he could have friends, but again, yeah, it's just nobody helped.
So he's not connecting with people whatsoever. He has no connections. Only these fantasies to drive him. Alcohol is his only food at this point. I mean, honestly,
Drinking like fish.
Yeah, I mean, he's drinking like a fish, honestly. So he's spiraling. Then the sergeants or whoever, his higher ups, decide that he's not a good fit for the military. He gets kicked out. He rushes back to Miami, Florida, of all places. He doesn't even go back home. So embarrassed, so scared. He was in Germany. We forgot to mention that. He went on a tour to Germany. This is where he gets caught for drinking and everything. Comes back to Miami and finds out that he's broke, has no money. He ends up sleeping in a motel for a little while, and his alcohol bills start outweighing his motel bills. Can't even live, can't have his drinks. I mean, what do you do at that point? So he sleeps on the beach for a night, and then the next day he calls his dad. He's like, "Hey, I'm broke. I need money." Dad's like, "I'm not giving you money, but I'll give you a plane ticket back home." Comes back home.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, it's reasonable. So, what helps him, though? I mean, he comes back home.
Yeah. Only gets worse.
It only gets way worse.
Yeah.
And, I mean, who knows what would have happened if he stayed down in Miami and got a job down there. But, I mean, you never know what a culture shift can do. You never know what an environment change can do. This kid was messed up, period.
Either way, he's still...
I mean, he's messed up. 100%.
No doubt about it.
But he comes back home. Then his dad's like, "All right, only other option, send him to your grandma's." And it was actually a really good turning point for him. He had another chance. I mean, look at the chances. To disregard his homosexuality, to disregard his awkwardness, to disregard his fantasies about the dead corpses.
That's an important one. Right
I mean,
there.
he had the military. I don't know of who all's been through the military, but as soon as you go through boot camp, I mean, like you're basically brainwashed. I mean, all your feelings and everything, you're kind of like thrown off for a few weeks, few months, whatever branch you go into. And I mean, this guy he just didn't pay any attention to it. So he gets another opportunity. This opportunity actually takes pretty serious. Goes to his grandma's. They start going to church. He starts getting really religious. Starts reading the Bible. He's hating his homosexuality at this point. He absolutely despises it. He's like, "I'm reading the Bible. I'm getting religious because really I don't want to be gay anymore, and I need to figure out how to change this. It's driving my lifestyle." But it just doesn't work. He can't fall into that pattern. He tries it, but his fantasies and his urges just outweigh it. He's with his grandma at this point, and he starts venturing out to the gay bars.
Kid just doesn't like boobies.
Yes, I don't know what it is. Buddy obviously wasn't breastfed when he was.
Probably not.
He probably wasn't.
His mom was on a lot of medication.
Yeah.
So
who knows what?
Yeah.
What happened there.
It's all the mom's fault.
Yeah.
She didn't give him breastfeeding time.
No booby time. But so he starts venturing out of the gay bars. Probably not the best idea. There could have been so many other options that he did, but he ventures out to the gay bars. He's got to make money somehow. He gets a job at I can't remember what his first job was. I think it was like a sandwich shop.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And he's working that, going to the gay bars, and then it happens again.
Dun dun dun.
His second victim.
So yeah, his second victim, right? What was that like?
So before we even get to that, here's another like little, I don't know, psychology little lesson with old Mahogany. So the first killing he did, like we talked about, he destroyed the body. And as we're about to start getting to other killings, you could tell that his first killing he did not want to do. Like, of course he did it. Yes, there was a part of him that like wanted the just compliant body right there in front of him, but he destroys the body. So as we get on with the killings, we're going to see that he started saving pieces. So the fact that he destroyed something that he wanted and like that literally was a big driving force in his killings just told you like how much like the kid could not stand himself with anything that he did.
Yeah. He just didn't want to do it whatsoever. That second killing, he goes to this gay bar, lures a guy back into his hotel at the time. He didn't want to do it at his grandmother's house.
Stephen Twomey.
Hey,
Twom.
Weird last name.
Don't know who he is.
But
But
another Stephen.
Another Steven.
But at least he's classy. He took him to a hotel, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. They drank, and then next thing you know, he's waking up, and the guy next to him has been beaten in, and he clearly, I don't think he meant to do it because he had no idea what happened that night.
Yeah, I mean, he even says, in multiple interviews, especially in his confession, he woke up and he realizes that he had done this thing. He felt like he was on a different planet. He didn't know where he was at, what had happened. He had no intentions whatsoever to kill the guy. No intentions. That wasn't it. He gave him the sleeping pill mixture, knocked him out, but he was just so drunk that he's assuming that he just lost all control. And woke up, the dude had a broken rib, punctured lung, bleeding out of his mouth, hung over the bed. And, I mean, you're in a hotel, how are you going to sneak a dead body out? I mean, there's going to be blood everywhere. You got to clean that up, whatever.
Burn the hotel.
Yeah, right? I mean, just vomit, vomit and run. I mean, at this point. So he runs across the store to a department store, gets the biggest suitcase he can find, and he shoves this lifeless body in a suitcase. He comes out of his room. He decides that he can't take it downstairs. Gets the bellboy to come up, help him with the bag. They literally crack a joke. The bellboy's like, dude, this is heavy as hell. What do you have in here, a body? And Jeffrey's like,
yeah, I got a body in here.
Yeah, I do. I mean, they crack a joke about it, but dude literally had a body in it. And lo and behold, he gets it downstairs, the taxi comes by, and the same exact thing happens. He can't lift it into the back of the truck, and he's like, hey, I need some help. Taxi driver comes back, and he's like, dude, what the hell? Do you have a body in here? And he's like,
yeah, I got a body in here.
He's like, yeah, I got a body in here. And I mean, it's just, I know you're not expecting somebody to have a body in a suitcase, but
why would they tell you?
But it's the fact that he's just so charismatic. I mean, honestly, Jeffrey's so charismatic, not only to lead people back to his apartment. I mean, at gay bars, if we're sitting here at a bar and we're like, hey, you look good, the next step is bringing them back home, whatever.
Oh, you want to take me home?
No, I'm saying for us, as in going to bars and picking up women.
So you're not taking me home?
No, I'm not taking you home.
Okay.
We are home.
But so I mean, it's it's the same thing. Obviously, that's their sexual preference. That's probably, even for them, they probably go to that extent quicker. Who knows? But yeah, so he takes his body back to his grandma's house. He didn't want to sleep with him, do all that at his grandma's house, but he will go back to his grandma's house and hold on to the body. What do you do with that body?
You pluck your chicken to it.
We
don't.
Dahmer plucks his chicken.
Dahmer plucked his chicken to it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily pluck my chicken to dead body.
None of us do.
That might be more of him.
None of us do.
Oh,
but,
you don't?
No.
So
I like my buddies alive.
He tries thinking of a way that he can preserve this body. Never comes up with an idea. Masturbates to it. Even has anal sex with the dead corpse at least 1 or 2 times, I think. But the body just starts decomposing.
Yummy.
He just gives up on it at that point. Dismembers it and throws it in 5 trash bags. So throws it in 5 trash bags. He's going to take it out to the dump, and he gets pulled over for crossing the middle line. He's driving drunk. Yes, obviously.
Of course he's drunk.
And here's the thing. This is how the traffic stop goes. Cop walks up. Hey, you cross a yellow line. Boom. Comes back, writes him a ticket, brings it back to him, and he does his checks. I mean, you check the trunk, see if there's anything in there. Obviously, it's a typical traffic violation. You're going to check for all the worst things to come. But he notices the bags in the back seat. But Jeffrey Dahmer was able to manipulate again, saying, my parents are in a quarrel. The way that I get rid of, the way I clear my head is go on drives.
Go to the dump.
I'm taking the trash to the dump. That's all I'm doing. And the cop literally just, I mean, it was that easy. And I mean, honestly, it's a pretty good story.
Also, we're talking about 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
Cops were
Yeah, but
they're
I'm more laid
idiots.
back then.
They're they're idiots.
Yeah.
Like, could you not smell? I mean, I know trash obviously smells bad, but that's a whole dead body.
It's a
Like,
different
there's a
smell.
different smell.
And who knows
you could have thrown away a rat. Like, if you have ever had rats in your house or mice, you throw them away, and dude, you don't get that thing out in a couple of days, bro. It smells like
Oh yeah.
a dead body because that's what it is.
Well,
It's a little dead body.
I think it also like Dahmer's like comical and collectedness. It like really attributes to him getting away with like many things to come as well. And I think just how he handles situations, because I mean, there's multiple situations where he's like, "Oh, dude, it's a body in the bag. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah," and people are like, "Oh, good one, Dahmer. Yeah,
double P,
awesome, man."
How's it getting?
And he just plays it off
Be
like
back
it's
at it
nothing
again.
because, like, in those situations, if you're doing something like that or anything bad, you have to play it off.
Yeah.
If you don't, someone's gonna smell.
Yeah, I mean, it's
fishy.
like that thing, dogs can sense fear or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same situation. If somebody senses that you're uneasy and you're not in your state of mind, which I don't understand how, because the dude was drunk.
Well,
But I mean, at this point,
he's probably used to
that's
it.
probably his.
That's his
well,
normal.
if we're so like we said before, he's got to be a little on the spectrum, and especially with him being a sociopath, like your brain's already not clicking to empathy. Like, yes, there was a part of empathy, but since he's a sociopath and not a psychopath, his brain obviously understands empathy. But if he's a little on the spectrum, then that's where it kind of knocks it, like just learning people, knocks it down just a little bit. So through school, you can see him obviously like learning how to get attention. So he obviously knows how to learn the normal social like construct. So I believe that is why he didn't freak out or anything.
Break. Yeah, completely shut down.
Just because like his entire like socialness is just fake.
Yeah, and I mean, he was used to being fake. I mean, leading these guys back to the apartment, that was completely fake too. Because honestly, he didn't really want themselves. He didn't like rejection, and he physically knew like that this person's gonna reject something. It's never gonna be 100% to the point to where I can get a yes every single time.
Let me cut your heart out.
Yeah. So I mean, and then he went to those extents and taken to the body of the dump, gets away another time. I mean, it's just second killing, boom. Third killing. So the third one, what did that look like?
Yes. So the third one was James Doc Stater. He was a 14-year-old boy, and Dahmer lured him in by offering him $50 for nude photos to take in his basement with his Polaroid camera. And so that led on to Dahmer drugging him and then sexually assaulting him, while he was unconscious. And then later he killed him, and then same fashion as the second one, disposed of his body and so on and so forth.
So the sexual assault case gets popped up. He also has an instance where he gets really drunk, has indecent exposure to the public,
Plucking his chicken to a couple of minors.
plucking his chicken.
Fined $50, and I believe he went to jail, and he got bailed out. Is that what happened?
I don't remember. I haven't heard about that, but I mean, if that happened, I do know that a trial got started on this case. His sexual assault case in specific, the public indecency, everything like that. He was sentenced to a year.
Yeah.
But before that year happened, he decided that he was going to claim another victim.
Yeah, it was the sentencing was delayed until May.
Now we got the fourth killing. What did that fourth killing look like?
Richard Guerrero, just another guy met outside of a gay bar, brought him back to his place, killed him quick and easy, dismembered his body like the other ones, and so his grandma started getting very upset with the smell emitting from the basement.
He did do
So
that.
kicked him out. Dahmer started working at a chocolate factory and another job, a
Willy Wonka.
botanist job or something like that.
I think the
along the
first
lines, but-
first job that he was working when he got kicked out of his grandma's house. Another interesting fact is he had a long break between these two killings.
Mm-hmm.
He got mannequins. He got mannequins from these retail stores that were just handing them out. And no, he stole. No,
Yeah,
he
he
stole
stole.
a mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
He stole a mannequin from a retail store, and would just
Started
plug his chicken.
But
to the
you can
mannequin.
see in that the fact that he already got his killings, and so again, what's really stopping him to keep on killing. He's already broke. He already popped the cherry of the first kill, so he could have keep on going, but you can see him still like hating what's he doing. So he stole his mannequin so he could plug his chicken so he could just still get that some form of
euphoria.
Yeah, because feeling. The mannequins they're still objects, and he likes that idea of
and they're hairless.
Yeah,
yep.
hair,
yeah, literally what he wanted.
Exactly.
But his grandma finds it. She's upset.
I'm upset.
So that leads into when she has the god awful smells the next time, she's just like, all right, I'm done with it.
Yeah, you're getting out.
So he moves into infamous apartment 213.
Dun dun dun.
Starts working his job at the chocolate factory.
And I can't remember his day job, but he worked nights at the chocolate factory.
I mean, he's kind of like Willy Wonka if you think about it. Like,
yeah, no, but he's not.
No, hear me out. No, hear me out. Think about it.
No one's hearing you.
He likes little kids. He traps little kids and keeps them technically forever, right? Willy Wonka, bro.
Dude, he makes.
Have you ever seen Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory or Charlie in the Chocolate Factory?
Willy Wonkas you're watching? But
he's watching those dark
No, see, I do not believe that Willy Wonka was just a chocolate factory. Oh no, dude, there's a dark side. Oh, there.
Right, we'll get to that.
I've never seen Charlie in the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. But that's okay. So yeah, Mr. Willy Wonka over here decides that he's gonna take another one. He's gonna take his fifth victim, and his fifth victim starts getting pretty dark. This is where his fantasies start fueling. If they weren't before, it's everything now. I mean, that's his number one motive. His fifth victim, what did that look like?
So his fifth victim was a model, and I believe Dahmer paid him $50 like some of the other ones to go back to his place. But the unique theme about this one is when he killed him, he kept his head and his genitals, put it inside of a wooden box, and then kept it at work because that's the only place he could really keep it since he was on parole with the whole exposure.
He needed a little fidget toy.
Yeah. So
you can say that.
The way his parole worked is that he was able to just, work his job at night, come right back, and then that was the only thing that he had. Obviously, at this point, he couldn't just go out and kill somebody on parole. That probably wouldn't work out too well. He had parole checkups, XYZ. So the only way that he could keep remnants of, his victims or have some kind of companionship was to keep hold of these members, these parts of the previous victim. And it happened to be his full mummified head and his genitals. I mean, this dude started getting dark.
And same thing.
More than he already was.
Yeah. And then, I mean, like, he was dark before, but now it's starting to get to, like, deep companionship has
started to build connections with these people.
Yeah. And it's getting to the point where, like, now he's still motivated in some sort, but he still hates hurting people, hates killing people, never wants to kill them. And the way that he, like, ties it back to always having these people with him and always ties it back to some kind of sentimental value is by holding on to parts of their bodies. This dude decides to take this guy's head and his things.
Same with his next one, with his sixth victim, keeps his head in the same box.
Mm-hmm. And he stores that one in his fridge, and that one will come
memorabilia.
Back. That one will come back later. That one will bite him in the booty later.
Yeah, because his neighbors start asking about the smell in his grandma's basement. He tells them that a fridge is broke.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's a pretty broke fridge,
Yeah.
But he gets away with it yet again with his charisma.
Again, these cops, dude, morons. Absolute morons.
Well, this wasn't cops. This was his neighbors. But
I mean, even at that point, I mean, it's just people in general. I mean, like, how are you not calling the cops? And even if you are calling the cops, who knows if they even did call the cops? They could be like, hey, listen, there's some god-awful smells going on over there. And this guy says it's just a fridge broken. I mean, like, if people are just that dumb, then people are just that dumb.
Oh, yeah, guys.
People are getting away with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, guys, if y'all stick around with us through, like, these, like, other episodes, you're about to start seeing the connections between the 60s and 70s how idiotic people were and how these people just kept getting away. And
it's also like nowadays there's cameras anywhere. Cop wants to trace something that happens, boom, they got identities. Boom, they have raw footage of people doing stuff.
Oh yeah, there's so many like
then
technology
you just
back
didn't
then.
know nothing. You just had to believe what people saw.
Yeah, it was all word of mouth back then, and it was all witness fueled. Testimonies were so skewed back then as well. But yeah, so he starts feeling more and more. Gets out on parole. He's bailed out of prison. Whatever, however you want to say it. He's back into room 213. This is where it starts getting nasty.
It gets a little interesting.
He starts planning out his next killings, which is weird because he always said that he didn't like hurting people, but then he starts planning on how he's going to go about everything.
Well, but the thing is, it's just like a sexual predator, not like the ones that like go after kids, but just like a male that just needs females, right? That just needs constant sex. They move on because one of them gets old. Bodies obviously decay, get old. He needs a new body. Like he can't keep the same one over and over. And
yeah.
He's already broken past the point of a mannequin, so he just has to keep on going next after next.
Yeah. So a few kills go by, right? He starts getting darker and darker. Starts fantasizing even more and more. Then we lead into our 10th victim. He's into 10 bodies by this point. At this point, it starts getting pretty gruesome, pretty dark. Some crazy stuff starts happening. So, just a disclaimer right here. We've talked about some dark stuff before, the animals and everything like that, but this is where it gets worse.
Fear depression is advised.
Yeah, if you don't want to listen, don't listen. If you want to cut off right here, go ahead. We appreciate the time, but yeah, Nick's gonna get into our 10th victim here.
So our 10th victim, his name is Curtis Schroeder. He's a 17-year-old boy that Dahmer meets on a bus. Lures him back to his place. Same old situation happening where Dahmer's, offering up money for nude photos. And what's unique about this victim and very sinister is he actually eats him. He becomes a cannibal and he takes parts of his body, his liver, biceps, stuff like that, because Dahmer's now wanting a feeling of his victims to stay inside of him forever. Which, I mean, he's gonna poop it out, but like, I don't know what he was thinking, but I mean,
he's obviously not in the
not
at all.
So this one gets a little interesting. And one of the documentaries that I watched, there's actually a cannibal in France that is released to the public now. I mean, he's walking around, and I don't know if he's still alive nowadays, but during this documentary, he was released back into the public. So we might have to cover this guy. I don't remember his name, sadly, but he actually connects with Dahmer on this level because he goes through the same things that he went through. He was like, I understand why he wanted the unresponsiveness, the no, he couldn't be
no moving dead ass.
Yeah. So, and then rejection wasn't there at all. He connected with everything there as well, and he says it's just easier. It's so much easier. You don't have to worry about anything at that point. So if this guy had any thoughts, any worries about something going on, it was all out the window.
So obviously, like, there were the highest level of insecurity a person could possibly get. The fact that you're so terrified of somebody rejecting you, be like, hey, you want to try a new position, right? And your fun time.
Not even that, dude.
Or
like the simplest form of rejection.
It can just go like, they can reject you at face value. You stand hate to them and them not wanting to talk to you. I mean, like, that's where it started with him.
Yeah. But it also makes sense because, like, everybody rejected him in his life. So
his crazy mom and his dad gave him no attention. Started becoming introverted.
His grandmother kicked him out.
Yeah. Now he's starting to take that option away from people.
Started doing all the crazy stuff in school to gain attention, and he just
went down a bad road.
Extremely bad road.
So yeah, he starts,
which gets us into his 11th victim. Down a very bad road here.
This one's dark.
So this is where you would.
This is where you want to click off if you're not ready for this.
So his next victim, his name is Errol Lindsay, and this is where the whole controversial zombifying begins to happen with Dahmer. So what he does with this next victim is he drills holes into the side of this victim's head and pours hydraulic acid into his head to, quote unquote, put him in a zombified state. Now, I'm not sure what he was trying to do here, but
who knows?
I don't know why he was experimenting with such weird stuff, but I guess that's just how he is.
His dad was a chemist.
Yeah,
like
his
the
dad
whole
was doing weird stuff to animals with acid.
He had a PhD in chemistry, so there's no telling what the conversations were like between him and his dad. There's no telling what he learned from his dad. That's another thing. I don't know too much about the conversations, what happened between him and his dad. But this guy was obviously smart. He obviously did his research, but he wanted to keep that unresponsive, no rejection state up, but he also didn't want him dead.
Yeah.
Right? So he's like, now I've got to try to find a way to keep him alive for as long as I can.
Yep.
There's so many other different ways he could have done it. I'm not saying y'all should do this. You're sick.
Don't.
You're even thinking about it.
Don't do this.
And you legitimately get some help. But he could have. He could have kept on drugging him.
Yep.
He could have used LSD constantly. Be like, yo, I'm your god. Kid on acid, be like, you are, and then that's it. Or he could have, if he really wanted to, he could have found a way to do at-home brain surgery to where a kid can't comprehend stuff to basically make them
No, but he straight up wanted a dead body. He wanted to do the necrophilia, but also have the body alive in some weird sort.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. He could have without, I'm not using this in a bad term, but he could have legit made them retarded to the point of where they cannot function without him. And if he would have done that, if he could have figured that out, then of course he would probably stop killing. But like we said, he's not in the right.
But obviously at this time, there's no telling what medical looked like. You say that now because that stuff becomes more and more apparent. At that time, he's probably just looking for the easiest route. Sure, there's other avenues that he could have taken, amnesia, whatever. But also, it's just whatever was easiest to him at the time. So he just thought up this solution that he made up, and it ends up being lethal this time.
5-minute crafts.
Yeah, right. 5-minute crafts, yeah. Let me just see what I can throw together. It ends up being lethal this time. But this is where this whole, fantasy with the zombified victims start coming up. So it leads us into the next point of this 14-year-old kid.
Well, I was going to say this real quick. So this Errol Lindsay guy that he was killing, the one he was zombifying, while he was drugging him and attempting to do this, he actually woke up, became, conscious again, and tried to escape, in which Dahmer strangled him and then filleted his skin off. And I'm sure he tried to eat that as well.
Well, yeah. He enjoyed the biceps and the thighs. He talked about that. They became too, tough for him at one point. He bought a meat tenderizer, beat him up, whatever. Tried to make him tender. Moved on to the hearts of the victims because not only was it more tender meat, but he just felt a deeper connection eating the heart of his victims. And he's messed up, obviously. We know that by now. He's just a skewed person. But we move on to the 14-year-old.
Yeah. This was Mr. Konarak. He was a 14-year-old little Asian boy that he lured in, like many of the victims. Offered him money for nudes, pictures. Ended up giving him the first injection with the acid straight to the brain. And then Dahmer, he went out for like a little beer break, I think, to get more beer. And the guy woke up, ran outside butt naked, lady down probably down a few doors from where Dahmer was living, called in the police, was like, hey, there's this little boy out here running around naked, he just should be out here. So cops come out here, Dahmer gets back, and they're like, what is going on? And Dahmer, just like in that situation with the body bags in the suitcase, he was like, yeah, he's my boyfriend. Totally plays it off, cool, calm and collected.
Able to convince these people that he's of age.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they were like, how old is he?
19-year-old.
Yeah, they're like, he's 19. And they're like, okay, well, let's go back to the apartment and just check everything out. So they walk back up. and they go inside Dahmer's apartment. And at this point, he has a full body decomposing in his room. They even look in there. They just glance around, don't even notice it. Come back out. They leave. Later that night, Dahmer kills Conrad in the middle of the night. And then I think at this point, he goes on like a straight killing spree.
Yeah.
Like 4 bodies down within the span of like I think 16 days. Like he's just getting to like insatiable patterns. He cannot get enough of this like control over these people. That's why he's doing this all along, because he cannot handle this rejection like we've talked about many times. He wants that full control over somebody. That's why he's doing all these experiments. That's why he likes necrophilia, because they don't have an option whether to obey him or not. And I think this gets him caught at the point of Tracy Edwards. This is would be his last victim, but luckily, Mr. Tracy escaped from Dahmer's apartment, went down. He had handcuffs on him, just on one arm, and he was simply going to the police first just to get him out of the handcuffs, and he wasn't going to say anything else. But the cops were like, "Well, we need to investigate this and know what's going on." So they asked Tracy a few questions. They go up to Dahmer's apartment. Dahmer does not like it. He knows it's about to happen. He knows this is the last time he's ever going to be able to do this. He tries pushing them out. Cops come in. They look over the place. They find all the remains, all the bodies, all the dismemberment around the apartment. And they arrest him, finally, after, what, 20? I mean, no, it was like, what, 13 years?
I think it was like 10 or, yeah, 10 or...
I think it was 13.
13?
Yeah,
it was like
10 years.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
over 10 years.
It was between 87 to 91.
Yeah,
Not,
this was
no,
91.
78 to 91. That's right.
Yeah, it was 1991. They finally got him arrested after years and years of torturing people, killing them, mutilating them, just whatever he would do. And at that point, he was arrested, imprisoned, and at that point, he confessed to everything.
Yep.
Like
over 160 pages.
Yeah,
of confession.
It was
16 hours straight.
It was definitely a lot. And after this, like he would even wake up in the middle of nights. He would say to give like the families like consolement or whatever. Not many people believe that. I don't know about that either. But he would like literally wake up in the middle of the night to be like, "Hey, I remember something. I remember what I did to this person or who this person's name is, and blah blah blah." Just give these families like consolement, all that. And he would call up detectives in the middle of the night, wake them up, come to the cell. And I thought that was a bit funny compared to like a lot of serial killers. Like he'll go to the grave, like Bundy went to the grave. Like he was like, I'm innocent, never did any of this.
No
And
Dahmer knew everything he was doing was
Yeah.
just completely wrong.
yeah, and I think those years and years of just drinking and then coming back and not being able to, and it kind of woke his mind to a little bit of remorse. And he I think he genuinely realized like all he's done was truly terrible and awful to all these people. And in his time in prison, he was with one of his cellmates. What was his? Do y'all know his name?
Mm-mm.
No. Well, him and his cellmate got they got whacked in the bathroom by, what do you know, another weight bar to work out with. I think it was barbell again.
It's ironic.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very ironic.
Yeah. Took his first victim. This is how he's getting taken out. Barbell. Him and his cellmate get taken out in the bathroom, I believe. And yeah, that's the end of the reign of Jeffrey Dahmer.
So real quick about his whole reign through his prison years and everything like that. During the trial, I watched a couple of documentaries, and it was released of one lady, of one of the victims, and she just was like in the courtroom. She gets up and just starts running after him, like, I'm gonna kill you. You killed my family member. I can't remember if it was her brother or son. I can't remember which one it was. I want to say it was her brother. But she's like getting up. She's going after him, trying to like get after him, everything like that. They save him. He goes up and gives this very monotone, just remorseful speech. I'm so sorry. I know what I did. Da 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 da. If I could give my own life to bring back everybody else's life, I would. And so many people think like, oh, that wasn't heartfelt. Like that's there's no emotion in that. Another situation goes on to where this girl, she's a sister of one of the victims. And she goes and actually sees him in prison, and she sits in front of him, and they talk about like exactly what happened. Turns out this was the first victim where he dismembered him, crushed up his spine, crushed up his body, everything, and just gave it to where there was no, no recollection of putting it back together. And that's the thing is like when he got caught in his apartment, he knew that it was that time, but at the same time, he could have saved it. He could have kept on going because all he had to do was just go get that key, take it to the people, and say, "This is what was going on. We were having fun time, sexy fun time, and I put handcuffs on him." I mean, there's him. He could have turned that. He could have skewed that. He just let him in. He just let him run free. They found the photos. They found the bodies. Whatever. That all sparks something. During his confession, he gives the story about the first victim that he crushes up and throws it around. They go back to his childhood home, get all the members together, get all the body parts together, and they can't remake the person. So this girl is just so inclined on why her brother is the only one that they can't remake. And so I mean, he was planning like to make altars with these skulls. I mean, he has a plan drawn out of this altar that he's gonna create with all the skulls of his members, and all of his victims. So this dude just got really messed up. But like Logan was saying, we start noticing a turning point when he's in prison. He gets back into religion.
He gets baptized.
He gets baptized in prison, and he gets baptized in the medical hold in the prison in a whirlpool. And the priest is talking about it, and even the police detectives during these documentaries, they're talking about how this guy just became so friendly, how he became like a person again, and you could start noticing his dad didn't notice it as well. He was like he became the Jeffrey that we knew at the beginning. He was so kind, he was so personable. He started getting excited about things. You never knew he was this kind of person before, just at face value. And the priest was talking about it, especially on the killing of him. He's sitting there and he gets word of it because obviously these guys, they're talking day to day, confession, whatever. He says, hey, there's no sin that's enough to where God's not gonna forgive you. And Jeffrey's just like, well, if that's the case, then I'll go with it. I'll try it. But I just feel like what I've done is just so horrible. I can't be saved. He gets convinced through weeks and weeks, months and months, gets baptized, then gets killed, and then the priest is just like, I honestly began making a friendship out of our connection. I became friends with this guy, and everybody's like, you go from the police detectives, the people just in general. There was only one person that I know of that had complete hatred for the guy, and that was because he was a bartender at the gay bar. That he came in, lured the guy, and it was his friend, and he just completely hated Jeffrey for taking his friend away from him. But everybody else started getting this friendship towards him. Like this guy's becoming more personable. We're starting to see him changing. Sure, he's never gonna come out of prison, but he's gonna know what he did, and he's gonna live with it for the rest of his life, and he's gonna turn around from it. But at the same time, Jeffrey also had those same tendencies up until his death. He said, I still battle with the straight fantasies and the straight, just urges while I'm in prison. But obviously, he can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's like
he actually got
nicotine
stabbed.
withdrawal or whatnot. He's in prison. He can't do any of it. He's just
Yep. I mean, he just can't. He can't get it. It's not obtainable. I mean, it's the same thing as the military. I mean, it's the same situation. But he actually got stabbed before he died the first time. He got stabbed one time and lived past it. They were in the bathroom and man-made shank gets stabbed one time, lives through it, and then at that point he knew that he was on the hit list, of the prison. But I thought that was interesting that he actually almost got killed one time, and then ends up getting bludgeoned by the same way that he took his first victim.
But so like that just shows you how much somebody interacting with old Double D could have saved so many lives. Like 17 people's lives could have been saved plus families. So a lot of people like his lives could not have not been ruined if somebody would just helped. Because like prison, he already went so deep. Homie straight cannonballed
he went all the way
into a diving pool. But and at that point he was still turning around because he had people in his life that was trying to help him turn around, forgiving him.
So he could talk about it every day.
Exactly.
Get
get it off his chest. Some people some of the victims' families forgiving, and just it showed him that, yo, people care about me. Like, yes, I still did all these screwed up evil things, but I'm not like
He was being
left.
accepted at
Yes,
that point.
he was
wasn't
being
being
accepted
abandoned.
as him.
He wasn't being rejected.
He wasn't being fake. He put everything out on the table, all his evilness, all his goodness, whatever, and people were accepting him. So
that must have felt amazing for him, because I know if I was able to just tell people every single thing I've ever done, all my thoughts about it, and just be accepted like that, especially if you're a serial killer and everything you've done is so insane, to be able to put it all out on the line like that and be able to make friends with like a priest.
Yeah,
I mean that had to be something.
and that's the thing, that the two detectives that really worked on his case the most. This guy is older at the time now, but and I mean he even went on Inside Edition. Like, there was a news story where a news reporter, came in and sat across from Jeffrey Dahmer and had a conversation with him while he's in prison. And I mean, like, that's the thing. All these cameras blaring, all these lights and everything like that. This dude still sat there and just talked about it. But he speaks specifically on the 16 hours of just straight confession. And the police detectives, like, you could notice a difference between the second he started talking to the second he stopped. It was like the biggest burden in the world had been thrown off of him. He got everything off of his chest, and the little bits here and there, he'd call him up in the middle of the night and be like, "Hey, listen, I've got something else." But when he got everything that he knew out, and it was just him and his fantasies alone, it was just he knew what had come at that point. It was the end. He was to deal with this throughout the entire time. He was just gonna live with it. But then he started seeing remorse, acceptance, forgiveness from other people, and he was like, "All right, maybe people do care about me. Maybe I am human." And that's where it starts turning around. People say it's unfortunate, that he was killed in prison. Do I see it as unfortunate? No. I think that he kind of got what he deserved, just because it's one of those things, like, if you're gonna kill somebody, expect to be killed back. In my eyes, unless obviously there's a reason for you to kill somebody, not just self defense or anything like that. But if you're just gonna go out and have no remorse for somebody's life and just take them, I would expect you to be killed back. I don't think that there's a level of forgiveness that I can get to say, "Hey, you just killed my mom, or you just killed my sister, or you just killed one of my nieces, and I forgive you for it," right? I don't think I can get to that point. So do I think
the power of that is insane?
Yeah, and I mean, for that lady that came in and had that conversation with him, he was the first one that he ever killed. He completely dismembered his body, broke up his bones, defaced the person. Like, the person literally vanished. Everything about him vanished. And she was to sit across from him and, like, talk to him about it. To me, that's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I would have broken down that glass screen between us, whether it be bulletproof or whatever, and I would have killed him myself. And that's what that lady did in the trial room. She was trying to get her hands on him and kill him there, because that's the first time anybody had ever been surfaced about why this person just disappeared. That's the thing about these cases. Nobody knew what happened.
Yeah, it just disappeared. So you're sitting there wondering, like
so many
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything's building up and building up and building up. And these families finally get in on the trial room, and even his dad and his next wife, his married wife, they didn't know that their son was like this, because the Thanksgiving before his trial, they literally saw each other. There's a video of Jeffrey flipping through a newspaper that his dad took. He's playing with the cat. I mean, like, he's a person. You would have never known, especially his dad. I mean, like, his dad's not sitting there thinking, this dude's killed 13 however many people, and he's sitting across from me. But when they get in that trial room, they had no preemptive stuff. They weren't told about the case whatsoever. They sat in and listened about every single person that he killed. I mean, this trial went on for days because they had to get out all this information. 160 pages of confession, 16 hours straight of just talking. And his dad's like, "My son did this." And it just blindsided him. But he would still visit him in prison. People would visit him in prison. And it's just, to me, like, I don't know, it must have been a different time back then. Jeffrey must have been really, really good at manipulating people, because, like, for me, if I was to sit across my sister's killer, or my best friend's killer, or my mother's killer, I don't know how I'd be able to handle it.
Well, that's one thing that, like, dude, I don't know, man. I just feel different about Dahmer. Like, dude, I've studied so many killers, but nobody is like Dahmer in my eyes.
No,
like
he's definitely the most interesting.
He's very different than the rest.
he's so passionate, and he was just so lost, and he obviously knew what he was doing, but dude just had an addiction. It went haywire. It went bad. Like worst possible way it could have gone. So, and he knows that. But like, if you look at Bundy, like, dude was sick. He was getting a high off the kills.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, dude had to get plastered, absolutely blackout drunk to kill somebody.
Because he knew what he was doing was messed
And
up.
Yeah.
So
So
and then tried to zombify him because he wanted them to be alive in his eyes, but he couldn't get them that way. So he tried
he
everything.
didn't want
to
to kill him. So he tried many ways, but he just couldn't figure it out. And I don't know, just like hearing about Dahmer's story, like I have like a little bit of compassion towards him, and just like I can understand where everything went wrong.
Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's
He did what he did.
Yeah, it's absolutely
Yeah.
evil.
And I can see how people might have the same outlook and amplify it from that point. Because I mean, if just say it's always the term get in that person's shoes.
Yeah.
You've been neglected since you were young. Nobody ever talked to you. You're always the outcast. You started drinking at 14. You've known nothing but alcohol, rejection. I mean, like jobs failing, the military failing, your grandma kicking you out, your dad abandoning you, your mom being on drugs. Like, it's definitely the perfect story for a serial killer.
Oh, yeah.
Was the way that he grew up. It wasn't one of those things to where he was crazy, because I mean, even in the trial, they declared him as sane. And I mean, even his mother, when he gets cremated, they say take the brain and study it, because there was somebody trying to say that he was actually crazy. There was deformations in his brain, and his mom was like, no.
Yeah, it was because mom was also like, oh, on his brain. Okay.
On his brain, yeah. So there was a study done while he was in prison, and somebody was saying that he was crazy. The verdict was wrong. He needed to be declared as insane. He needed to be put in an insane asylum. He needed to be switched up. And his mom was like, do the studies on the brain. Nothing was wrong with his brain. There was nothing that had ever been disaltered or altered even. And he was just a normal person, but he had just went through so much emotion through his life that just fueled this just snowball effect of just crap. I mean, he just went for the worst of the worst, when if anybody would have just stepped in at any moment, he could have found the light in that situation and gotten out of it.
Yeah, if he would have had like a figure like the priest, like he did in prison, like early on in life, I think it could have been a very different
And
story.
that's where I don't understand how, like, his time at the church when he was with his grandma, how there wasn't that connection made there.
Well, the thing is, like I want to sit here calling the dude weak. The fact that he couldn't get a control of his addictions.
Oh, he even says it himself. He says I'm a weak person. In his Inside Edition interview, he says I'm a weak person.
But the thing is, dude, like I literally just thought about it while you were talking. Like, dude, like yes, there's a weakness to Dahmer, but all of this got sown at the age of 13 and 14.
Oh, yeah.
At that age, like again, we talked about at the beginning, like that stuff sticks with you for the rest of your life. Like I'm noticing with my parents, like stuff that, like they're set in their ways. I can't convince them of anything, and that's how adults are, because we are growing, and everything that we will be in the future is now.
Yep, starts now.
Yeah,
100%.
and like I said, I'm getting stuck in some ways, like on certain things. I like certain things certain ways, and dude, I'm just 20, bro.
Yeah.
So like at the age of 14, like getting stuck at something that dark, dude,
Well, you're like a sponge at that point.
Yeah.
Like, you're so impressionable. Like I'm
Terrible,
telling you, I think if someone would have came up to him like that priest earlier on in life, at that
Mhm.
point, I think it could have been a very different story
Yeah,
about
but-
Dahmer. But nobody was, so he just kept like soaking up rejection, abandonment. Like everybody left and right, just
All
coming
the key
at him.
figures in his life.
Yeah.
Those people that should have
Like
stepped
the
in.
most important people
Yeah.
said no, we
Yeah.
don't want you. Go. You're weird. You're outcast, and that's soaked in. I think that was just, like you said, like just a snowball effect, like for years and years coming.
Yeah, if you ever have a chance, watch just this. It's a little 17-minute interview with Inside Edition. You just get a little bit of a snippet on his motives and what he thinks of. I mean, this is him in prison. Obviously after he's done all this stuff, and you just get a little bit of insight on him, just to see him at face value, and then as well they made a video. I haven't seen the video, not the video, but the movie. Sorry, I haven't seen the video.
My friend Dahmer.
But it's got Ross Lynch in it. I think is the guy's name.
Yep.
The guy from
Does it?
Austin and
Austin
Ally.
and Ally,
it is.
Yeah,
I've
That's
never even
wild,
played-
isn't it? That's
he
crazy.
plays Dahmer.
It's like the
Ross
most
Lynch is-
random.
You would not
actor,
think.
yeah.
I don't.
He does a
That didn't
great
even click
job
with me.
too.
Yeah, Ross Lynch is Jeffrey Dahmer in My Friend Dahmer.
The beginning especially of that movie is very good.
Yeah, what?
Dude, I thought it was the dude that played Lex Luthor in the Batman vs Superman
No.
movie.
Yeah, no.
no,
So,
That's what it looked like to me
I,
on the cover.
a few probably months back before we even like got in a friend group or anything, I had seen a trailer for it. I was like, what the hell is this about? Like, what is Ross Lynch doing as a serial killer?
That's your future. That's what that was.
Yeah, and
It's a
so
podcast, not the.
yeah,
killings.
not my
Yeesh.
future.
Yeah,
Not my future. If anybody, it's you.
No, it's not.
But no. So I guess if you have a chance, read up on them, and hopefully this information was something that you've never heard about before, and we hope we could kind of make it entertaining enough for you to stick around and listen. But it's also one of those topics that a lot of people are just like,
you get really.
It's hard to listen to.
yeah, it's
at
hard. It's
times.
hard to listen to.
Extremely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you stuck around this far, we appreciate it. Drop a like, drop a comment, let us know what you think, and if you want to subscribe. But personally, I don't care about subscriptions.
But also, of course, we're gonna make a lot more like topics about different killers. If you want us to talk about a
Yeah,
specific
let us
one,
know in the comments.
Suggestions.
seriously,
are
comments
Yeah.
because you might know somebody that we don't.
Yeah,
Like
Very
I said,
possible.
I know a lot because I'm big brained like
Dude,
that.
you heard of
He's
Pete
an
on his
idiot
phone.
though. So
He's
Hey.
weird, but we know there's some other weirdos out there. Y'all just let us know down in the comments.
We know, yeah.
even with the weekly light topics and suggestions,
Yeah,
I mean, that always
totally.
helps.
But
so if you have any ideas
Yeah.
whatsoever,
Let
drop
us
them
know.
down below. And for now, up until next week, we out.
Peace out.
Sir.